remember the first time reading Exodus, and I didn't quite understand the logic of the progression of these plagues. I had a professor in my undergrad who tried to demonstrate the way in which every plague was somehow God fighting with some Egyptian god as well, and it makes sense. And I think there's some truth to that reading, but you kind of have to stretch things out quite a bit when you get to certain plagues. So that never sat well with me. So it's, on the one hand, yes, it's this god versus this ex-Nile god, great. But then all of a sudden we're getting to livestock and lice, or whatever the case may be. And I was never fully convinced that that's what every single one of the plagues was doing, was that in fact it was God overcoming or demonstrating his power over all of the other kind of local gods that are there. But what then started to make sense to me, because I could never figure out, how exactly are these frogs a plague? Like, if any of the frogs, the Nile turning to blood, yes, I get how that's a plague. I mean, that's your livelihood. I mean, that's life and death right there. For the Nile no longer to be water, but to be blood and to be undrinkable. I mean, that's essentially, that first plague demonstrates to everybody, I could wreak havoc on your land here if I can do this. But the frogs never made too much sense to me, until I started to see the connection between this idea of death and proximity. And the text makes it very clear what the frogs are doing. They'll come into your house and into your bedchamber. Notice, into your house, inside your house, into your bedchamber. So now we're getting even closer to you, and into your servant's house. So it's not just you, but whatever servants you have, I can go after them as well. And by the way, the plague of against the servants will play out a little bit later here. And it says, onto your couch. So this is even a closer proximity. Into your kneading pan, into your ovens. Like, I'll just get as close as I can to you. And then it says, and upon your people, and upon your slaves. The frogs are going to attach themselves, and you won't be able to shake it. So pay attention to this kind of demonstration of a proximity. God said